weeks I've been talking to you guys a lot about pharmacy, so I thought I'd switch it up this week and do something a little more interesting. So I figured today I'd talk to you guys about rocks, why you should care about rocks. They're found in many places all over the world. This particular rock right here is, just kidding guys, I'm going to talk to you guys about rock and roll and the history of rock and roll. I really believe that rock and roll has had a huge influence on our culture. It's came in a critical time in America's development. It was a combination of two very different cultures coming together. Why should you trust me? I've been listening to rock just like this guy in my dad's record room ever since I was little. I have a really good understanding of influences from different musicians, and it's just a big passion that I have and I know a little bit about. Also, it should be important to you guys to just realize that even though rock originated in America, its influence on the world has been huge. It quickly spread to Britain, and you have Southern Hemisphere rock, you have American artists traveling all over the world, spreading their influences, and vice versa. So what I want to do today is kind of go over the culture of America during when rock was born, and then go over some of the original pioneers and how they made rock and roll, and then go on to some of the later musicians who took the genre and kind of pushed it further. So this dapper gentleman right here is a man named Robert Johnson, and he is what people consider the grandfather of rock. He originated in the 30s, and he is a perfect example of the music that came out of this time, which I'm about to talk to you guys about. He was part of this culture where everybody was pretty struck for cash. This was in the 30s during the Great Depression, and people basically had to work from sun up till sundown, plowing fields, picking cotton, and it was really, people would make music about the hardship they've been through the day. And so when you get done with your day's work, what you want to do is relieve some stress. So people, it didn't matter if you're white, it didn't matter if you're black, you all had a hard day. You would go to somebody's porch in your community and you would just write music about how your day was or how the mule fell down that day. And a big place for this blues music was Memphis, Tennessee, and it became a huge hub for blues bars, blues clubs, and this is kind of where musicians like B.B. King or Howlin' Wolf, Robert Johnson would go to get exposure. And so doing what white people like to do, we like to steal people's talents and make them our own. So this guy right here, Elvis, did just that, and he took the popular blues music of the day and combined it with another genre that was popular with the white community, which is country music, put them together into one, and created rock and roll. So like I said, country music was predominantly for white people. It was getting the majority of the airplay. And what Elvis did was basically, like I said, took those two, combined them together, and made them popular for the masses. Everybody could sit on the radio and listen to this. He was also the starter of this rebellious movement. I mean, as you can see here, he would go on stage and he would do these sexy moves that would just drive girls crazy. And parents really hated him because they were very conservative at this time, and he was kind of pushing the envelope, so to speak, back in the day. You can also see this is later on, this is a Rolling Stones album. This is a very controversial album that came out. It's a little bit worse than gyrating your hips on stage. It's literally an album cover of a close-up of a man's crotch. And actually the original album you could zip the zipper down. So that goes over the kind of rebellious nature. And this was a time period where rock just started blooming. This rebellious attitude came, we're not going to do what our parents say, and we have these huge music festivals like Woodstock where hundreds and hundreds of thousands of people would come out. It would just be a crazy atmosphere. So now I'm going to go over some of the more nuances of some of the later generations, like the Beatles. The Beatles were probably the first supergroup to come out of rock and roll. They influenced heavily on culture, people's hairstyle. Everybody wanted to be like the Beatles. And they also sold out the first stadium. This is a band called Led Zeppelin. Basically what they did is they took this kind of softer music, this soft country and the soft blues, combined them and made a heavy kind of hard rock. And I mean, everybody knows Stairway to Heaven. So that's basically what Led Zeppelin did. Kiss was kind of an interesting group to come out of this era. They were known mainly for their theatrics on stage, and they would have explosions, they would put on lots of makeup, they would, squirt blood out of their mouths, just create theatrics and sell merchandise like this coffin that you see here that you can buy for $10,000 on eBay. So what have we really gone over? I've told you, my ideas of what I think created rock and roll and kind of the influences that some of the later generations got from these early musicians. You don't really think about as being rock. You think of more of the blues genre, but it was combined together. And it really, it defines America's culture in a heavy way throughout the 50s, all the way to the late 90s. You just have this rebellious attitude that's coming out, and it just keeps pushing forward. And you can see it even socially with like the civil rights movement and things of that sort. So that's about wraps it up. I could talk for hours about rock and roll, but I had to give you this brief speech. So that being said, rock on, guys.